Hey, church family, we're here again for our daily update and devotions. So, as far as updates of what's going on, we know that it's been suggested again that schools would not meet for the rest of the school year. We do have President Trump talking about reopening the economy, jobs, and things like that. And that's going to be a state by state kind of decision through the governors. So we'll have to just wait and see what Governor Lee in the state of Tennessee decides to do as far as stay-at-home orders beyond April 30th. But our federal government is talking about starting removing the stay-at-home orders, but that's going to be working, again, state by state. So the state of Tennessee may relieve or remove the stay-at-home order after April 30th, beginning May 1st, but other states like New York may not. So we just don't know what's going to happen, and we'll keep you updated as much as we can as we hear things. So we'll just have to wait and see how that works community by community. Again, disclaimer before we go into our devotion, Proverbs 5 through 7 tend to deal a little bit more with sex and sexual ethic. So if you don't want your kids hearing that, or teenagers or things like that, you can put your earphones in or move to a different room. But we're going to get started with our devotion. Our devotion day is going to be continuing in Proverbs chapter 5. We're looking at verses 15 through 23. So let's get started there. So Proverbs chapter 5, beginning in verse 15, it says, "Drink water from your own cistern, water flowing from your own well. Should your springs flow in the streets, streams in the public squares? They should be for you alone, and not for you to share with strangers. Let your fountain be blessed, and take pleasure in the wife of your youth. A loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast always satisfy you. Be lost in her love forever. Why, my son, would you lose yourself with a forbidden woman, or embrace a wayward woman? For a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes, and he considers all his paths. A wicked man's iniquities will trap him. He will become tangled in the ropes of his own sin. He will die because there is no discipline, and be lost because of his great stupidity." Now, like I said, this is, again, speaking of our sexual ethic. Here it says, when it says drink water from your own cistern, water flowing from your own well, he's talking about sex within your marriage. And then he goes on, should your springs flow in the streets, streams, and public squares? Basically, should you just be having sex out with anyone and everyone? The answer is no. Again, he says they should be for you alone and not for you to share with strangers. Let your fountain be blessed, and take pleasure in your wife from your youth. So basically, Solomon is speaking to his sons again. What's he saying is wisdom. He's saying basically stay at home. We have this stay at home order where we're supposed to stay indoors. Well, Solomon is telling his sons, stay at home when it comes to sex. When it comes to being pleased sexually, he's saying stay at home with your wife. Be satisfied with your wife. Don't run into the arms of another. Basically, what he's saying is adultery is unwise. Why would you embrace it? Adultery is always sinful. Adultery is always wrong. Adultery is always condemned in Scripture. So remember, your actions are always before the Lord. Again, in verse 21, it says, for a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes, and he considers all his paths. The Lord considers all your ways. This means he sees everything you do, he weighs everything you do, and he responds to everything you do. So he's watching you, and he's watching how you act. Everything you do, whether you think it's in secret or not, is seen by the Lord. He sees every detail of every aspect of your life, and that includes your thoughts. Well, verse 22 through 23 sum up why adultery is unwise. Let's read those again together. It says, a wicked man's iniquities will trap him, and he will become tangled in the ropes of his own sin. He will die because there is no discipline, and be lost because of his great stupidity. Now, this is pretty honest talk. Your sin is stupid. Committing adultery is stupid. Remember, this is a father speaking to his sons, and Solomon here is speaking from experience. Solomon is basically saying, don't be stupid like I was stupid when it comes to women. Don't be stupid. Can you imagine that? You ever have a talk with your dad or your mom or, grandparents or something like that, and they said, hey, don't be stupid. Yeah, this is what Solomon is saying to his sons. Don't be stupid, be wise when it comes to your sexual ethic, when it comes to your marriage, when it comes to sex. So basically, to recap, this section is pretty straightforward. All right, sex is for you and your wife only, men. All right, you get that? So women, sex is only for you and your husband. And this section is also saying just stay married. It said stay with the wife of your youth. All right, stay sexually faithful to your partner. This is God's wisdom for you when it comes to your marriage. God's design for marriage is simple: one man, one woman, together until death do they part. Sex may be uncomfortable to talk about, but sex is a gift from God. But we must be wise with that gift that God has given us. So, how do we be wise with the gift of sex? We reserve sex for marriage only. One man, one woman, enjoying one another for as long as they both shall live. Now, just a side disclaimer, this is not a section to give someone license to sexually abuse their spouse. Abuse is never acceptable. All right. Now, there'll be other sections that talk about that in Scripture, but we're not talking about that today. But if you feel like you're in an abusive relationship and things like that, you need to talk to someone. You need to get help. All right. But under normal marriage situations where there is not abuse present, all right, we're to be faithful sexually to only each other. Sex stays in the marriage. It is to be enjoyed. It is a gift of God, but it's a gift that has limitations on it. According to Scripture, God has limited that gift of sex to marriage between one man and one woman to be enjoyed. All right, for as long as they both shall live. See, I'm even getting tongue-tied because, talking about sex is not always the most comfortable thing to do, but it's something you and your spouse should do. Y'all should talk about it. It is a gift for y'all to enjoy together. So, a faithful marriage ultimately is rooted in a faithful relationship with God because you need wisdom. You need God's wisdom on how to have a healthy, vibrant marriage and how to use the gifts that God has given us wisely. So, a faithful marriage is rooted in a faithful relationship with God. Now, this begins with Jesus. So, we must be faithfully following Jesus so that we can be a faithful spouse. So, look to Jesus, who is your wisdom, so that you can be wise. And when you walk in wisdom, you're able to have a faithful marriage. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I look forward to talking with you tomorrow.